Right, pal. This is see you next time. This time, we're exploring the realm of r/malicious compliance, where we follow the letter, not the spirit of the rules. We've got exam takers, bill payers, and bridezillas. We'll keep an ear out for the police, and a whole lot more. Let's get into it. This one's from Dancing Fruit. I have to pretend to be you? Basically, 15-year-old me was bullied back and forth into doing homework for other people and having people copy off my tests. I know people will say, why didn't you stand up for yourself? But reality is, counsellors in our school will pull a Bible verse on you and call it a day and tell you, you need to pray more. Such is misery. So yeah. One time, one of the kids who basically pretended to be my friend for good grades was always missing from class, skipped school, the whole I'm sick and I hate it here, and she refused to come in. She missed so many exams because of it. Teachers had adjusted to her behaviour, and somehow, after-school makeup exams or special exams were given to those who missed them. She begged me to go in for one, which was being proctored by a sub who didn't recognise me as myself. So, I got into her seat, wrote her name, and failed her exam for her. A perfect 0%. It didn't stop her from other bullying things, but I made sure that exam reflected what she learned in class. Absolutely nothing. Oh, this warms the cockles of my cold black heart. It really does. Beautiful stuff. And I know why you didn't stand up for yourself. Being 15 ain't easy. And being 15 in a horrible school with no support is harder still. Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. This one's from P. Logan 56.
Comply with Bridezilla or leave. You now have 15 seconds to comply.
Okay.
My friend Gemma told me about how she and an entire group of bridesmaids left a wedding after their friend dared them to. So this all happened a few weeks ago. A long-time friend of Gemma's group was getting married in another state, but the day of the wedding she suddenly had a problem with one girl who wore glasses, which she didn't have an issue with beforehand. The glasses girl told her she wouldn't wear them during the vows and pictures, but the bridezilla didn't want her wearing them at all and was screaming at her to not put them on for the rest of the day. Obviously she couldn't do that since, she needs to see. The argument got more heated until Bridezilla gave her the ultimatum to take them off and keep them off or leave. This is when Gemma and the other bridesmaids stepped in, told Bridezilla she was out of line and that they would all leave if she forced the girl with the glasses to leave. Bridezilla called their bluff and, being maids of honour, the bridesmaids left the wedding and decided to celebrate and eat at a restaurant before they head back home. Bridezilla called them several times after they left, telling them that she didn't care about the glasses anymore and begged them to come back to the venue, but they not only refused, but also chose to end the friendship with her altogether. Gemma said that the wedding proceeded as normal, just minus the bridesmaids, and with a few awkward stares because everyone heard the Bridezilla's screaming from earlier. Gemma told me that the Bridezilla has always been like this, throwing a tantrum when she doesn't get her way, and that the meltdown at the wedding was just the last straw for them. Personally, I think she's got a monk's patience if she put up with her for that long. To be honest, this seems like they've come out with a win, a cast iron excuse to ditch this psycho friend forever. Sorted. This one's from Len Tester. Apartment manager doesn't take cash for a 2-cent bill. Malicious compliance ensues. In 2019, I moved from an apartment complex in Celebration, Florida to a condo. As usual, when you move out of an apartment, you get a final bill, which includes your last month's prorated rent, deductions for damages, safety deposit refunds and the like. We paid it. The next month, I get a call from my wife who says we've got a follow-up bill in the mail from the apartment management company for 2 cents. We're both in the tech field, so we laughed that this company's IT department didn't catch the edge case of spending 50 cents in postage to collect 2 cents in revenue. But it happens. My wife prints out a copy of the bill. I grab 2 cents from the change jar. The apartment complex is on my daily drive, so I swing by the office. I walk in and tell the manager that I want to pay my last bill. I say, "It's 2 cents. Here's the bill, and I have the 2 cents if you want it." The manager says,
We don't take cash.
"Nothing else." There was an awkward pause. I say, "I don't expect you to take cash. I expect us both to have a laugh about how silly computer systems are, and for you to write off the 2 cents because it'd cost you more to process the payment."
I'm not gonna do that.
Again, an awkward pause. "So you want me to write you a check for 2 cents and mail it, and you're going to process that check?"
Yes, send us a check and we'll process it.
And then walks back into her office to end the conversation. So I go home and set up an automatic monthly bank payment to my apartment complex for 3 cents. And then, because I'm a programmer, I write some code to send a letter once per month saying, "I'm so sorry, I've overpaid my bill. Please send me a check for the overpayment." And I use an online service that sends postcards in ridiculous sizes, up to around 18 by 24 inches, figuring that'll be my escalation strategy. The first of the next month, I get a call from the apartment company's regional manager. After introducing himself, the next 2 minutes were the most sincere, "Oh God, we made a mistake, please don't do this, we'll never contact you again," apology anyone could have hoped for. I stopped the mail and never heard from them again. Did I spend several hours on malicious compliance for 2 cents? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. This one's from Take It Easy. Take off my earphones while you're speaking to me? Sure, no problem, officer. Happened this morning. Even though I made a complete and full stop at a 4-way stop, I get pulled over by a police vehicle, lights flashing, the works. I turn my dash cam around to face me and whomever goes in front of the driver's side window. I roll it down and ask, "What seems to be the problem, officer?" Officer looks at me the way one would look at a sticky piece of gum stuck to the bottom of one's shoe.
You didn't make a complete stop,
he says. I adjust one of my hearing aids. I lost part of my hearing due to being a touring session musician previously. And before I could speak, he firmly orders,
Sir, take off your earphones while I'm talking to you.
I take both hearing aids off and look at him. I can read lips a little, but we're both masked, so I can't understand what he's saying. I communicate in sign language simultaneously while speaking verbally. "I'm deaf, and I didn't understand what you just said. Can you communicate to me in ASL, please?" He points at my hearing aids that look like Apple AirPods, motioning me to put them on. I respond, "Yes, officer. Without those, I can only communicate in ASL. Please instruct me in ASL, and I will be compliant in every possible way." He looks at the dash cam that's neatly pointed squarely at us and mumbles, "For F's sake." He then motions for me to go, giving me 2 thumbs up. Needless to say, I rolled up the window and drove away as fast as legally allowed. This one's short and sweet, and it comes from Critical Depth 420. Micromanaging my lunch break. Enjoy the extra paperwork. Hey folks, I have a story of malicious compliance that I think you'll appreciate. This happened at my previous job, where my manager was the definition of a micromanager. At this job, we had an hour for lunch, but the break room was small, so people usually staggered their lunch breaks. It was an unspoken rule that as long as you didn't take more than an hour and your work didn't suffer, no one really cared when you took your lunch. That was until our new manager, let's call him Dave, stepped in. Dave decided that he needed to control when everyone took their lunch breaks. He created a strict schedule, assigning each person a specific lunch hour. My assigned time was right in the middle of my most productive part of the day, which was super frustrating. I decided to follow the new lunch schedule, but I also decided to take full advantage of my rights as an employee. You see, our company policy stated that any work done during our lunch break was considered overtime and needed to be compensated. So, I started to accidentally schedule meetings, calls and tasks during my lunch break, making sure to meticulously document every minute of work I did. Then, at the end of the week, I'd submit a detailed overtime report to Dave, showing him all the extra work I did during my lunch hour. Dave was furious, but he couldn't deny my overtime request without violating company policy. After a few weeks of paying me extra for work I would have gladly done during my regular hours, Dave scrapped his strict lunch break schedule and let us go back to our old system. This one's from Nimyane Aqua, or something like that. I moved out and took
Everything.
What do you mean everything?
Everything!
It became apparent to me last week that my roommates were trying to drive me out of the house to get one of their boyfriends in on my lease. When I told them I wanted to stay, they started staging incidents and messes around the house so they could yell at me for them, and it all came to a head when they called a meeting with me 2 days ago. One of them had to hold the other back as she screamed at me that she hated me and I was not welcome in the building. They proceeded to tell me that I contributed nothing to the house and wasted their space, and that they had gotten in with the landlady and convinced her not to renew my lease in June. I told them I'd talked to the landlady, and when they said they were the heads of the house, I laughed and went on with my day. I'm sorry, what? Apologies. I'll continue. I spoke to the landlady, and she acknowledged that they were out of hand, and while she had given them the power to not renew my lease, she also said I could move out whenever and not pay for a single day I wasn't there. So, yesterday, when my roommates both left to visit family, their sisters, I immediately called everyone I knew and vacated the house of everything I owned. I took the curtains, the rugs, all the cat toys, and even the cat tower that I'd made with my mum. I took all of their things off my shelves and other furniture and stacked them in the middle of the now nearly empty living room. I snapped pictures of everything, handed the keys to the landlady, and immediately effed off. They won't be back to the house until tomorrow. I blocked them on everything so I won't get any angry messages, but I'm sure their faces will be priceless when they come home to a half-empty house with hundreds of dollars in storage and furniture gone. So much for me not contributing anything to the house. Now I actually don't. They also have to find someone else to take up the lease until boyfriend can move in when June comes around, or they have to pick up my rent. Feels pretty good. Update. It took a while for things to settle down, but I'll just post a quick update on how everything is going. I emailed my attorney asking if the screenshots I took of my landlady's text saying I could leave with no financial repercussions would protect me if she somehow changed her mind and wanted to charge me rent. He said I was good to go and would be covered by it. A lot of people are asking about whether or not my roommates will actually have to pick up my rent. My lease specifically states, if one tenant is not able to fulfill their portion of the rent, it will be up to the other tenants to make up the difference. I don't know if she'll make an exception or not for them. She did tell me though that it will be their responsibility to get someone to lease my room until boyfriend can move in June. The girls came back from visiting family today, so it is certain that they have seen the empty house now. I haven't gotten any calls from any officers about stolen goods, so I'm thinking I'm in the clear. Considering that I haven't actually stolen anything, they would be filing a false report, which is very illegal, according to my attorney. And the big one. My boyfriend was pretty peeved by the whole situation. He heard the whole screaming meeting where they told me to leave as he was up in my room when it happened, and he's also observed the abusive text and language they have sent and said to me, and he confronted both of my roommates online about how they'd been acting. They immediately went to their dad, and he had the cops called. I don't know all of the details, and frankly I don't want to, because I've got them blocked. I want nothing to do with them, and I just want my life to go on. But yeah, my boyfriend pretty much had to go to the station and sign some papers saying he'd leave them alone. I'm pretty peeved at him for confronting them, but like the cops, come on. Anyways, I'm couch surfing until I can get a place. I have 2 lined up that I'm very interested in, both of which have girls who I know and can trust. I think things are looking up, and hopefully this is the last time I have to think about this ever again. If something does happen, I will be updating. Thanks to everyone for the support. It makes me feel really good knowing that 1, I'm not the bad person here like the girls gaslit me into thinking, and 2, that my suffering did brighten some people's days. Hopefully, if something like this happens to you, you use similar tactics. I'd love to hear about it. It was also really encouraging to know that I'm not alone in having roommate issues. It was uplifting to hear other people's stories and how they got through it. Sending lots of love. So this is some sort of weird nepotistic sibling shenanigans going on by the looks of things, coupled with some narcissistic BS. I got a proper chuckle at them declaring themselves heads of the house. Did they also have a "No OPs allowed" sign nailed to the front door? Kinda seems like the landlady has seen all this crap before and decided to let the sisters screw themselves. If that is the case, bravo to her. I'm sort of surprised the boyfriend just sat in OP's room and listened to her flatmate screaming at her, certainly showing more self-control than I would. Almost certainly for the best though. Probably a good idea for him not to wade into a volatile situation with girls. These girls in particular sound like the kind you'd want to stay as physically far away from as possible when emotions are running high, especially given that coppers got involved when it was just online. Actual madness, by the way. Far better to pause when agitated and avoid reacting impulsively. On that note, while I understand OP's frustration at her boyfriend getting involved at all, I'll reiterate that they've both shown considerable restraint in my book. This one's from... What's that, Mr. Flibble? It's time to maliciously comply with the girl in my head and tell all these lovely people to fuck off.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Is there an alternative?
Mr. Flibble. Uncle Arnie fries them alive with his hex vision.
That's right, Mr. Flibble.
Oh, okay. Fuck the lot of you. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Oh, and Mr. Flibble says you need to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, most importantly, you could probably freebase your cocaine by boiling up your urine and applying a little chemical jiggery-pokery, rather than using those tried and tested methods with baking soda or ammonia. How else are you gonna get a big bag of that lovely crack all the kids are into these days? After all, who doesn't love crack, right? Me, that's who. As a disembodied voice, I take the controversial view that crack is bad. So, instead of using your jars of piss to freebase cocaine, perhaps don't do that, and keep those jars of piss under your bed, the way nature intended.
You like cooking other things? Food? Or just a crack?
What are you got in there?
It's a bit of crack.
Crack? Crack, Super Hands?
Relax. It's not blue, Peter. It's having a nice little relaxing smoke of crack. I'll tell you what, that crack is really Moorish.
See you next time.